All right, so let's start with the lab 3. And in the previous lab, we found the hard-coded credentials of a user, which is being used for the PS remoting. So we can assume that this user might be a sync user, which means that it's being used to log in with the on-prem servers and as well as in the Azure cloud as well. So to log in with the Azure cloud, we will need to have a domain name of the tenant ID. So to get the tenant ID, we can just copy this tenant ID and navigate to AD internals, which is this one, and go to OSINT and just paste the tenant ID right here. Click on get information. And we now have the domain name of the tenant. So here we have the domain name offensiveazure.onmicrosoft.com, but for you, it's going to be a different one. So let me just create the username correctly now. So now we have a complete username. Let's navigate to portal.azure.com, provide user. Okay, I already have this user. Let me take this. Okay, so now we have a username right here. And let me copy the password. And it goes right here. And now we have successfully got logged in with the credentials which we found in the bash history. So you can see the subscription is currently empty. Let's navigate to Azure DevOps organizations. You can just search for this DevOps. Yeah, we have it. And click on my Azure DevOps organization. And you can see we have access to one project. And if you observe correctly, you will see that we don't have any repo access, and we don't even have the button to click on the repositories, which means that this user might not have access to any repositories. Let's check for the project settings and see if there is any agent available or not. So you can see there is a custom agent created, which name is starts with WKL, something like this. So let's copy this agent name and just paste it right here for future reference. Now let's go to pipelines and see. So here we have one pipeline available and there is no run. So let me just click on here. All right. So now let's try to see if we can edit this pipeline or not. And you can see we don't have permissions to edit, maybe because we don't have permissions on the repositories. That might be a reason, but it still gives you an option to click on use the classic editor. So let's use that. All right. So here we have the default agent pool name. We have a YML file path. Okay. You can click on get source. And here, if I click on repositories, you can see we don't have access to any repositories. Okay. So even if I try to, let me just see if I can queue this. And you can see I cannot perform this because we don't have access to the repos. That's the reason. So what we can do is we can use a GitHub for this. And for this GitHub, we will now have to provide the authentication. So how we can do that? So here I can just click on new service connections and click on authorize with GitHub personal access tokens. So here we have to provide the JWT token of the GitHub. So for that, let me go to my GitHub account. So here I'll be creating a new repo. I'll name this as WKL lab 3. Okay, I already have this. Let me have this 3-1 and I'll make this public and let's create this. All right, so we have created this. Now I'll need to create certain files in here. So we'll click on create new files. So we are going to create some files. The one file which will be the Azure pipelines.yml file, on which we will be mentioning all the settings that we want to have. Okay, let me just copy the content of the file, and it's going to be the similar one. So here we have to mention the agent name. So we have already copied the agent name. And here we go. And just make sure that while copying from the Word, just replace these. All right. And we even have to replace the file name. So let's keep it as leaf.py, and we'll update the same here as well. It can be leaf.py, which is basically the reverse shell. Okay, it's okay. Here we don't have to install the Git. That's not required. So yeah, basically this whole script is not required. So we can remove this one. So we are going to install the Python 3 and we'll just run this py dot, I mean leaf.py file. And now let me just copy the name of the file which I want to run. Commit changes. Commit changes. That's it. Now we have one file created. Now there is going to be another file which is going to be the leaf.py. So let me create that. Name will be leaf.py. Let me just copy the content. So I'll again copy the IP address of this. Let me get the name. Okay. Okay, let me just get the IP address. All right, so let me get login. SSH also user IP address, my crazy password. All right, now what I'll do is just hold on for a second here and just copy the IP. We will run the netcat listener right in few seconds, and the port will be again port 80. And let me just commit changes. That's it. And now I will run the sudo nc -nvlp on port 80. Now I can just go back to the here. Oh yes. So here we have now created this repo, right? But we have to provide the token. So for that, we can go to settings. Okay, go to developer settings, then go to personal access tokens, click on token classic, click on generate new token. Okay, let me see if I remember the password. I hope this is the right one. Yeah. So let me make it as WKL lab. All right. And let's click on all repositories. Okay. So there's a mistake. We don't have to click on fine grained tokens. We have to use this token classic one. Yeah. So just provide the name. Click on repos, workflows. It's all right. You can give all of them as well if you want. Ideally, everything is not required. Only the read permissions. So yeah, maybe like projects, user, admin is not required. All those things is not required. And yeah, I think that's it. And let me just create this token. Just copy that and paste it right here and click on authorized. And now I should be able to list repos. And here is the one which we created just now. Let's click on this. And now we can click on save and queue. Okay, so we are not getting the option to save and run. Let's click on save first. I hope it's got saved. All right, and now we can run on queue. Okay, could not find the pipeline environment file, the patch type. Let me just verify. This is the file. Let me click on OK. Let's save. That's it. And now this should get run. Let me have a watch on my reverse shell. Let me also observe it from here. Okay, so we have some error. It says the agent request is not running because you have reached the maximum number of requests that can run type self-hosted. Current position is Q1. All right, so this might be an issue because there is some pipeline is currently getting running in the background. So we can wait for a couple of time to finish that old pipeline and wait for this one. So I'll just pause the video till that time. All right, so you can see the previous pipeline was been stopped, so now we can continue. So now it's now being continued. So it's currently waiting for the agent to receive the acknowledge the request. Let's wait. And you can see it's starting the job. Okay, we already have the reverse shell, the listener open. So let's wait for it to come to run.py, and hopefully we will get the reverse shell. And yeah, we got the reverse shell. And now if I just try to run ls, you can see all the files which we had in the GitHub. It's the same one. Also, what you can additionally you can do is if this on-prem server is using maybe Azure ARC or maybe have Azure management the manage identity enabled, there's a possibility that we can gain the access token just similar to what we did in the uh, function app. So for that, since it's a VM, what you can do is we can call this specific URL, which is basically the metadata URL. So here you can see we can do a curl request, which goes to this URL, and this will give the access token of the ARM, which is the Azure Resource Management, which is the resource type. And just paste this, click enter, and yes, you can see we have received the access token. That means the uh, manage identity was enabled on this machine. Now this machine can be a Azure hosted VM machine, or can be an on-prem machine which has Azure Arc enrolled. So yeah, the lab has been completed. So in real case scenario, you might gain this scenario where you have the token of a VM of a managed identity, and this VM might have some additional permissions, maybe on intra ID or maybe on some another resources which can be a database, or maybe some another resources which can be abused to perform the lateral movement. So yeah, that's it for this lab. See you in the next one.